All right. It's finally here. Finally, the postmortem is here. I hear it's 5,000 words, and it is going to be absolutely insane. But let's cover this. No waiting. No intro needed. Let's go. Let me see if I can make it so I can put my camera on a side where I'm not too in the way. That's the best I'm going to be able to do, unless I have this ready to go, which I do. Hell yeah, nice. This was the one thing that I wasn't sure if I had ready to go, but I have it ready to go. All right. As many of our players experienced, we launched Alpha 3.18 on March 10th of this year. Oh my God, really? And alongside a bevy of high-profile new features like Salvage, the Vulture, a flyable ship, plus the surprise Scorpius Antares, surprise, a useless ship, new rivers, and new missions. The biggest headliner of the patch was our delivery of persistent entity streaming, PES, which completely rewrote how we save the state in-game and ushered in the beginning of the promise of a truly persistent universe where a player's actions could remain in-game for others to interact with and create a lived-in environment where you could literally leave your mark in the PU. And just as importantly, PES was the necessary final stepping stone to delivering static server meshing. Many who follow Star Citizen appreciated how consequential and important our delivery of Alpha 3.18 was for us and the game itself. We did. We understood the brevity of the situation. We understood how big of a deal it was, but we also understood that you completely dropped the ball. Hopefully they say that. Many teams at CIG spent most of the second half of last year finishing out PES as we deployed it to our public test universe servers for testing in December 2022, and then spent the next 3 months attempting to harden and improve it for launching to our live Star Citizen service as quickly as possible, which was the mistake, was doing it as quickly as possible and not as cleanly as possible. However, when the moment of truth came and 3.18 shipped to live, the shock to the system was beyond what we had projected. While it's true that we expected PES to create a rough experience initially, as we ironed out the issues that could only expose themselves at massive scale, and we warned as much, to say that we were surprised by the depth of chaos from PES launch would be an understatement. Okay, I mean, that is good to hear. We thought it would be bad, but we didn't know it would be this bad, and it caught us by surprise. We didn't know what we were expecting. It almost sounds like we didn't know what we were doing, and that's not necessarily good. The anticipation of PES and 3.18 was nothing short of unprecedented for us. When the patch was first dropped on March 10th, we experienced our highest peaks ever for logins per minute and per hour, and had our highest number of attempted logins in a day for the first few days of launch. Reason being, because you actually delivered something good. Would you be able to deliver an experience like that again, where you're going to bring people back and have the highest peaks again? I think so, and I think that's 4.0, but I don't think we're going to reach those peaks again until you deliver something to the level of PES or above. We say attempted logins because, as you all know, the service was so overwhelmed by the traffic and teething pains of PES that many players could not get into the game. I couldn't get in for a month, literally a month, and I tried 5 different accounts. As various issues stalled users throughout the login funnel, throughout the login funnel, a bunch of users couldn't get in. Some were stuck in queues. Some couldn't get their character to load. That was me. Some were stuck in an infinite loading screen. As you can read more about it in Benoit Beaujolais, our technical chief officer's account below on PES, we underestimated the multiplicative forces of going to live and now creating and persisting every entity players created through their actions, creating a load on our service that was beyond our initial forecasts. And it took weeks, if not months, to expose, diagnose, create fixes, test them, and deploy them to restore the service, all while the game was still running on live. Probably, would it have been a better idea to just take it down? Or would they have just looked stupid? I don't think there's any win in this situation, right? But hindsight being 2020, would it have been better to just take it down completely and then be like, whoa, holy shit, maybe we should do something else? Maybe, but I don't think they find all the data they need to fix everything either, right? So, but most people, yeah, they do rollbacks. We learned a lot from the launch of PES, and while we are still recovering and regret the compromised service in the first days and weeks, months of the rollout, it has definitely taught us a valuable lesson to value and preserve the integrity of the service more than we had in the past. Bro, I have been saying this, and it's not a thing that I have just been saying. Many people have been saying, treat live like a live service. Treat live like live. Treat the PTU like an alpha. But no. And they have said it, and they still don't do it. That's why, as we begin to roll out the replication layer split and crash recovery, hello, two things now enabled by PES, we will do so gradually. This is the first time they have mentioned those since 3.18. So that's a big deal. And as we begin to deliver server meshing, we will create dedicated testing channels to harden those new technologies further and implement standards and thresholds before we graduate them to the PTU, then to live. You'll start to see the ramifications of that later in the year and hear more from us later about our new approach to deploying potentially disruptive and game-changing new tech to the game service. But it comes down to us truly committing to preserving the experience for the hundreds of thousands, if not millions. Whoa. Why are we pretending like we don't know what the number is? You know the exact number of people that are playing. Why are we pretending like there, if not millions of players? You know how many people play, and it's not millions, because that's why you're saying it that way. Come on, man. God, marketing always gets their little fucking fingers on this shit. Who now plays Star Citizen as a live service game, albeit an alpha still in development. Yes, we play the game as a live service. You should deliver that game in knowing that. And now they do. I don't know why it took the whole service going down for a month for them to realize it, but here we are. Persistent entity streaming. What went well? The development of persistent entity streaming, PES, involved a diverse strike team of programmers with specialized skills from multiple areas across the core tech group and Turbulent. This collaboration was crucial in successfully building this complex system. The strike team followed aligned sprints, goals. Honestly, I don't really care what went well in any of these. I'm not going to lie. I don't really want to read what went well because we know, like we most of us experienced it. But at the same time, it's unfair to not read what went well for them because they did good things and then bad things happen. I don't want to just focus on the bad. High code quality bar was maintained by a strike team, which underwent through design, discussion, and multiple reviews before being integrated into the mainline codebase. Initial development to the public test universe and testing with the PTU community went well, setting a positive foundation for further improvements. However, this led to issues discussed below. Finally, PES's system architecture and API, which are based on durable queues, prove they can recover from the worst kind of problems safely and will always trend towards recovery. What didn't go well? And this is what I wanted to hear from them. This is why I wanted to focus on it, because I want to hear what went wrong, and I want to hear what you're going to do to fix it, right? Research and development aspects of PES pose challenges, requiring the engineers to invent ways around unforeseen problems. Due to the foundational nature of PES, integrating into the Star Citizen game code resulted in significant changes that disrupted the game at a very low level. I think if they don't mention them, logging in was impossible before it got to us. Transit was a big thing that they were dealing with. The Star Citizen game code resulted in significant changes. Yep. And some game teams were unprepared for the integration effort required to bring the game systems back to parity or convert and leverage the new persistence layer for existing features. Big one was transit. I remember that specifically. Issues with the changes introduced by PES only became apparent during large-scale use and under heavy player load, which caused delays in identifying and resolving the problems. And features not thought to use persistence at all became affected by trivial delays, like tram system spawn queues and others. We also underestimated the multiplication factor between the PTU and live operations. The group had estimated a 10x increase in backend activity, but we were faced with a 20x increase in request, stream message sizes, and overall activity, which caused service outages across the board during the initial launch. Regarding vehicles, PES heavily modified the way they are entitled and created in-game. This gives a better user experience where you can choose where a ship ends up being created, but also significantly reduced the size of inventory and global database for ships that are never used. Major issues were also discovered at scale with a third-party database engine that PES leverages for its functionality. So they did not make the database engine. They are using someone else's. These issues gave birth to very unstable request response cycles as well as heavy queuing. These issues also caused ripple effects where one database server entering a deadlock condition would cause the entire shard cluster, instead of a single shard, to stop processing requests for a period. This was a major cause of the instability throughout Alpha 18X until the team identified and programmed a workaround to alleviate the effects. Additionally, multiple locking problems at scale were discovered in the global database system, same engine, that would cause a periodic stop of all requests to the inventory systems. The teams had to investigate and report to our vendors to determine workarounds and ultimately fixes that would prevent the database engine from locking. So they didn't make all of PES, or they did, but it feels kind of fucked that the largest paragraph of problems are not our problem. It was third party. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is, I guess. I mean, what third party would make a system that works in Star Citizen? The engine, several shards reached previously unknown hard limits, maximum numbers of allocated entities, and forcing the teams to seed and create new shards and cycle them out, diluting the effects of persistence on those shards. So they literally hit hard limits, which is why they started creating hard limits where you can only have, say, 25 boxes floating outside of a ship before the game engine starts deleting them. So that's where that happened. So remember when they were like, PES, you can have an entire like hole in a planet filled with picos? No, you can't, right? So all the cool things that PES was supposed to be, it's not. It's still cool, but it's not how they sold it necessarily, and that's fine. Several bugs were uncovered in those unstable times, with error handling in parts of the login flow that brick some accounts in different ways related to character creation. Server crash handling was discovered to take a much longer amount of time due to the process that kicks in during the post-mortem analysis. 30 minutes to recover a server, by the way. 30 minutes. Okay? This affected the shard post-mortem and delayed players getting stowed back to the global inventory, which could result in a character being stuck in a shard. What we'll do better / future plans. Going forward, we'll finalize and use the new Cloud Test Launcher to adequately stress test the game shards at scale, which before PES launch, they shared that the Cloud Test Launcher was there to do this. So we thought it was going to be all good, and it wasn't. This tool will simulate player behaviors and allow QA and the engineers to connect multiple modified game clients to the shard by utilizing cloud computing resources. Effectively, stress testing can be conducted, which will help identify and address issues related to heavily loaded servers before going to live. I don't believe you, because this was something you said you could do before you ever released PES to us on the PTU, let alone live, and now all of a sudden, our brand new Cloud Test Launcher. So I hope this one works, but I'll believe it when I see it, kind of thing. When I don't think we'll ever see it, but you know what I mean. The team responsible for PES has now moved onto static server meshing and are embracing a transformational approach to the new project. Unlike PES, this is foundational technology that can be integrated into the code base gradually, avoiding a big, disruptive, big bang approach. Parts of server meshing tech are already available to the game team for testing compatibility with their game features. Combined with the Cloud Test Launcher, this approach aims to facilitate a smoother integration process for static server meshing. I don't believe you, but I really hope that's what happens, but I don't believe you. Okay? By implementing these measures, we aim to enhance our testing capabilities and mitigate integration challenges, ensuring smoother delivery of foundational technologies while minimizing disruption to the game. I don't believe you, but I really hope it works out. Rivers, what went well? Sand caves, what went well? PTV racetrack, what went well? Who cares? Okay. Who cares? I want to skip those. This is really long, but do I really need to? Rivers? We're quite happy. The procedure placement tool wasn't as good. Numerous issues were successfully identified. Good. Okay. Sand caves. What didn't go well? You didn't put any gameplay in them. Yeah. Unfortunately, these caves had to be initially released without missions. Why did you release them in the first place? It doesn't even say what we'll do better is put missions in them. Oh my God, this is crazy. PTV racetrack. Despite finishing the track before 317, we had yet to QA pass on it. We'll certainly develop more modular tracks. Okay, cool, I guess. Wow. Security Bus Correa. This is something I care about personally. So what went well? We could never imagine the level of support we received from the R team, which really rejuvenated the location. The player-triggered sandbox activity was well received. And analytics showed that hacking crime stats at Correa is still very popular, which was a concern for us as we were taking a risk at removing the other hacking locations. Interesting. So people didn't mind. I think people mind going to Correa, but people still do it. Okay. What didn't go well? The mission has rough edges that need ironing out, which is in progress. Also, additional analytics need sandbox activities were identified. Okay. And what we'll do better? Continue to iterate on the sandbox activities. No big deal. Jump Town. What changed? Did the location change in 318? It's been so long, I don't even know. Yep. Changes to the location were very well received. Okay. PES led to performance issues around the location. Okay. We also wanted to redrop the locations with Rastar. However, we were unable to at the time, but I guess they can. For the next round of global events, we're planning on to redrop the locations on different planets and give different gameplay. For example, in thick atmosphere, higher gravity planets and forests. Ooh, okay. Okay. Time trial. New racing content people liked, I think. What didn't go well? Poor server performance, obviously. What went well? New FPS environments were very well received. Oh, that's infiltrate missions. They didn't even say what they'll do in the future, the time trials. A lot of this is really not worth covering. Infiltrate missions on Orison? They didn't even put them in. They're not even in anymore. So, yeah, we'll skip that. Prison activities. The prison escape mission is surprisingly well played and offers a new way for players to clear crime stats. Inside the prison, loot on the AI and now selling terminals were well received. Players felt the new AI made the prison feel more alive, and it gave them another way to earn merits. True. What didn't go well? The Ursa rover continues to spawn underground, selling items at prison kiosks. Still isn't reliable, and excessive AI are being spawned due to a spawn closet issue. What we'll do better? For the next release, we'll fix any bugs we can, including the Ursa spawning issue. Okay. We're trying, guys. Drake Vulture. What went well? It's fucking awesome. Okay, that's what went well. While the vehicle started some time ago, we had held on to it to ensure it released strongly with a gameplay loop rather than without, and this allowed the team to squeeze in some more features of the ship to make it hit all the current standards. What didn't go well, a few complaints surrounding the traversal of the ship due to the gameplay mechanics were somewhat a product of salvage mechanic evolving over time to require more manual input than initially expected. What didn't go well is you didn't sell it in game for like an entire year. But you won't admit that here, because why would you, right? What we'll do better next time? Releasing vehicles alongside their gameplay loops rather than earlier in the project. See Starfire and Reclaimer is something we've been striving to do in recent times, and we'll continue aiming to do this. Oh, yeah. Like the whole sea, right? Good job, guys. Way to go. Scorpius Antares. What went well? Why is this so long in the went well section? Why is it so long? Why are there so many words there? The Antares was designed alongside the base Scorpius as an optional variant to put into production in the future, with the tail section of the ship outlined as the part that could be geometrically swapped. So they already planned on doing it. However, during development, it was clear that the needs of an EMP and quantum drive required slightly more power than planned, and the team reacted well to adjust both the base Antares to allow the component layout to suit both. So instead of developing it the right way, they just said, fuck it, we need to sell a ship and do it quickly. This is not something that went well. That is bad. That is something bad. You sold something for well over the price of a AAA video game that you barely put any effort into. Jeez, that's fucked up, man. There were a few technical issues that we weren't able to solve that reduced the ability for the second player to have more control over the pilot features and a more enhanced MFD setup. But we sold it anyway. What we'll do better in the future, in future plans, with master modes and new MFDs coming in the future, we should see the co-pilot get more gameplay features rather than being half passenger, half button presser. But we sold it anyway. Salvage, cargo, and vehicle gameplay. What went well? We were able to support both feature teams. Introduction to two key features to the PU salvage with requiring a lot of time being spent on the art assets, and cargo requiring a pass along all ships by design. Loved salvage and cargo vehicle gameplay, so I am very happy with this. What didn't go well? Unfortunately, the scope of the work for salvage was drastically underestimated, as we thought the existing UV2 damage system all ships used would be suitable out of the box. However, we very quickly realized that we have to do an entire pass on every ship to up the quality, as you were looking at the visuals much closer than the damage system. In addition, the gameplay mechanic was built around the idea that you'd be able to 100 scrape the entire hull. However, this wasn't a consideration in the UV2 damage setup, so some areas were inaccessible, causing the frustration to early testers who couldn't 100% a ship. What we'll do better in the future, we're now more closely integrated with the teams working big features like this, so issues can be found and investigated before development properly starts, rather than being looped. Guys, we won't have any oversights next time. That's what we'll do better. Hull scraping. What went well? The long-awaited iteration of salvage gameplay finally arrived in Alpha 3.18, which enables players to scrape off a hull material and either trade it or use it for field repairs. The core gameplay loop was generally well received and provided a great contrast to other activities. I agree. We also expanded the harvestable system with shipwrecks and salvageable metal pieces, and introduced the first miniature version of crafting by allowing players to create a few select items using RMC. I thought that was awesome. Releasing hull scraping alongside the Drake Vulture meant that the ship could come out with the proper gameplay system, and the Aegis Reclaimer finally has appropriate gameplay available to it. Sort of. What didn't go well? A lot of features and systems hull scraping was relying on were still in active development when we were building the core gameplay system. This meant the feature was handed off to the EUPU team with a fairly compressed timeline for release. We addressed the way players would find salvageable objects in the universe way too late in the process, and the balance work for salvageable object distribution was not properly mapped out. Not all vehicles could be upgraded to the new damage map, meaning some vehicles still won't work correctly with hull scraping. What we'll do in the future. We've changed our approach on how early we get other teams involved, meaning that downstream teams get involved as early as the prototyping stage. We've also introduced additional milestones where downstream and the content teams can review and approve the progress we've made. I just realized I'm in the wrong category. I just moved to the right category. I wasn't in the Star Citizen one. There we go. I was just talking in the Void Crew category. All right, what we'll do better in the future, they've already figured that out. Alpha 3.19 salvage contracts. We're proud of what we achieved. Initially, we had only expected to release with hull scraping, but we were able to get cargo and brand new detachable components feature included. The missions was well received by backers too. It was, but I'll just say what I don't think went well. Prices on the weapons seem kind of meh. The cargo was not done well, and yeah, most people don't want to hull scrape. They want to actually salvage a ship, and that's not currently properly implemented yet, right? We didn't choose the best ships for the mission, that's for sure, as only some have detachable internal components and gold standard hulls for scraping, which we only found out after the fact. And due to developer illness, the first release saw very rough passive cargo spawning, meaning there was no time to properly balance or verify that all items could be sold. That's a big factor that they never really tell us, is sometimes like people are sick, and since they only have 4 out of the 1,300 people working on the PU, that if somebody gets sick, it actually has a really big impact, right? The economy team had to change the value of ship weapons very late into development. This was necessary to balance the problematic insurance issue, which needs a further rebalance. The change meant that some backers were disappointed having gotten used to the higher rewards. Yes. What we'll do better in the future, for the next release, we'll choose more appropriate ships with detachable internal components. Okay. New player experience. Yeah, there was a lot of positive feedback. Okay. The visual upgrades for Area 18 have greatly improved navigation. Throughout the development of the new player experience, we've been able to make many improvements to our mission system, such as the introduction of mission persistence, which allows us to resume a mission at the last active objective if a player loses connection or experiences a client crash. That doesn't happen in any other missions. So cool. But I've never seen that work. The mission is largely modular, but not entirely so, which means more work is needed to bring it to other locations. Okay. We didn't have sufficient time or support to teach player inventory management or interacting with shops. In terms of production itself, new player experience was a cross-team initiative and, as such, was complicated to coordinate. Production support for new player experience changed a few times as it wasn't owned by a dedicated team. Additionally, we didn't have sufficient support to remedy the visual issues and the existing HUD elements clashing with the new control contextual hints. Like, I'm sorry, the excuse of this team is working and that team is working on 2 different things and we couldn't get everybody together to work on this stuff is such a fucking crock, and I'm so tired of hearing it. You are a massive company that has millions and millions and millions of dollars together given to you by us. Learn how to communicate with each other. I'm really getting tired of hearing that as an excuse. It's kind of ridiculous, right? Like, just talk to each other, man. Whoever is deciding what goes in these patches, set the right priorities. Like, come on, man. Set the right priorities. Talk to each other. What is going on here? If the new player experience is really important, get the teams together that need to work on the new player experience and deliver it on time, or don't deliver it on time until it's ready and you're happy with it. That's crazy. What will do better? We've started working on modularizing the remaining parts of the new player experience to reduce the maintenance and allows us to bring it into multiple locations. We also introduced additional components to MPE, such as inventory management, shopping, and more. Cool. RSI links. Are we... I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say here. A post-mortem is one thing, right? On the major features. But if we're taking it down to this level, it's almost like you're filling this to make it seem. I don't know. I don't know. Why is this even here? I have no idea. I don't care. I'm sorry. I don't care about the Fury. I don't care about any of these things. I'm not gonna lie. It doesn't matter. These things matter, right? And it takes away from the things that matter. You don't see them. So this is a big one. Tractor beam item attach and detach. Finally, players are able to loot vehicles for components and weapons, greatly expanding the salvage gameplay loop. This feature also provides additional gameplay opportunities to other features, such as allowing players to swap out mining heads and modules, and provides a strong foundation for the vehicle tractor beam feature. Internally, the vehicle content team are very responsive to addressing content issues with existing components and weapons. What didn't go well? This feature wasn't originally scheduled for Alpha 3.19, so we had a compressed timeline to work with. The QATR for this feature also revealed a lot of issues with content that couldn't also be resolved. Who is making the decisions to deliver these features? Who is making the decisions here? Look at this. What didn't go well? The feature wasn't originally scheduled for 3.19, but somebody decided that it was, and it wasn't ready. Why are we doing this? This is so silly. And you know what? I know somebody's going to comment below and say, you would have complained either way. You would have complained if they're late. You would have complained if they're on time and it's not ready. No, that's not true. I've been telling them, and I said it for 3.19, and I've been saying it for 3.20. Take all the time you need and deliver these features well, because we keep running into these scenarios where nobody wants to play the game because nothing is in a playable state. Okay? It's super annoying. What will do better? We've started requesting downstream support much earlier in the process, so necessary content changes can be done in anticipation of the feature getting ready, as opposed to doing the handover towards the tail end of development. Okay, hopefully that's the case. All right, mining rebalance, my favorite thing out of all the patches. The community reception has been fantastic, and we're very happy with how the release panned out. Long-standing metas and balance issues have been resolved, and mining is now a much more nuanced gameplay loop that allows for multiple strategies. Changes to the tractor beams greatly benefited the mining gameplay loop by enabling the ability to swap out mining heads, modules, and pods. We also identified a better process to balance gameplay loops holistically. There were some issues, this is what didn't go well, there were some issues that didn't properly resolve until after the release, such as mineable rocks always exploding, and the redistribution and rebalance of shop prices required quite a bit of back and forth between various teams before we got it properly implemented. A lot of issues and edge cases with pricing distribution were revealed during testing that needed constant fixing and readjustment. Hello, instability bug that literally ruined mining altogether. Yeah, that was the thing. What we'll do better in the future? We want to continue to improve our communication around mining with the community and keep listening to critical feedback and making mining the best it can be. We'll also put more trust in the data we gather to help inform future design decisions around mining gameplay. Sweet. And that was it. So the real big things are they mentioned the separation of replication layer, but didn't mention it, being currently really in progress now, although they sort of mentioned that they're working on server meshing stuff now. So possibly. And that they're going to deliver things to us in the future. Outside of that, just seeing a lot of flaws in their communication being a problem, and that those are very consistent in these postmortems in the past, is we didn't communicate very well between different teams or to each other. Outside of that, not a whole lot to cover here on what was really important outside of PES, server meshing, and all that stuff. So yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think? I'm thinking right now that we're in a place where they've positioned themselves to now speak on these subjects at CitizenCon. That's kind of what I'm thinking now. They've positioned themselves to speak on the subject at CitizenCon, but it has by no means got me like reinvigorated or increased confidence in the project with me whatsoever yet. But the fact that, they might be introducing things in the near future, internally, but not really to us. It's hard to say like how the Evo/PTU system is going to work with these big features. And that's okay. I mean, it kind of is what it is. But I don't know. Let me know if you feel like any renewed confidence. I'm not incredible. I don't feel any better after reading this. That's all I'll say. It's just another thing of them communicating. It's also so late after they had already announced it. It already makes it feel like, you've watered this down or whatever. But it's more of, you've said things, now walk the walk. And that's it. That's where my head is. You got to walk the walk now. Period.